Okay, back from the break. Basically, as I'm talking, I'm talking about moving fingers now. I started the episode talking about intervals and all that, and how different intervals added onto the chord that you already have will create different colours and all this sort of business. I'm just doing an over-the-top thing. This isn't a music lesson in itself. It's like a little teaser for you to go off and learn to read music, take theory lessons, go and check out your, local reputable teacher, and that kind of things. Check it out on the internet, etc. But what I'm actually talking about here is actually when I actually put this information together on the drum set with my triggers and everything else, what I try and do is actually experiment, but I don't call what I do experimental music, for instance. I'm not, because I know, I sort of would like to think I know sort of what I'm doing. I'm after a particular sound. I'm after an orchestration, such as when I was studying Stravinsky in school, in the days when music was, not just an elective, it was like 3 times a week, at least in my school back in the day. But what happens is that when you're actually studying orchestration, right, the book's over there, all that sort of stuff, and you work out, oh, that's how Stravinsky did it. Shostakovich, for instance, Dmitri Shostakovich, regular watchers of the show know that I just love that guy, right, for all sorts of different reasons, but his music was incredible. And the reason I got my hands up like this is because if you take the string section of an orchestra and you've got, say, the first violins, then underneath the second violins, then you have the violas, then the cellos, then the double basses, that's fine, that kind of thing. You can have a whole block of first violins playing, like the C, the high C of a C chord. You could have the second violins playing the E and all this, and you spread it out and you think, oh, that's fine. Not Shostakovich. He was like a basket weave, and that's why his arrangements are so strong, if you know what I mean. Now, this is part of arranging, learning to arrange for a big band. Things can get pretty clever. I spent a long time with the Essendon Brass Band, and some of those charts, back in the day, some of those charts were brilliant. What Glenn Miller was able to do and all that. We just didn't march. The City of Essendon Brass Band is what I'm talking about here. We didn't just march. And I was just the drummer up the back, but I would just see things, and I was still, writing all the time and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going, whoa, listen to what the trombones are doing against the UFOs, that kind of thing, and the first cornet against this. And I go, oh, what a sound, that kind of thing. And the thing is, I take that and then I go off to the local band, which I also love, and then I see, 2 guitarists trying to nut it out, and then and it's almost like put your finger here and put your finger there, let's try that out, and sometimes I'm sitting behind the drums going, you need an F sharp in there, that kind of thing, but drummers, watch out. Just bite your lip sometimes and all that sort of stuff. But what I want to get at, I'm going off the track just a little bit because I don't want to make it an editorial, is that sometimes when you're dealing with intervals, you do experiment. You do experiment with different sounds, like on the drum set. I'm pointing to the drum set there just a bit off camera, but what goes on is that this cymbal with that floor tom, that kind of thing, to make this accent, it's the China cymbal against the floor tom. These kinds of things, you see. So what happens is sometimes you can move things around, but once in an experimental way, just trying different things, different sounds out, but then what can happen is it's no longer an experiment once you know that that works with this for that particular thing, and then you've got it, and then you can remember that for next time.